So we continue with page 98, and we had left off at the place where we saw we saw Iris calling out to the naiads. So let's continue from there, and let's see what else is said in this scene. So Iris calls out to the nymphs. She says, "You nymphs called naiads of the wandering brooks, with your sedged crowns and ever harmless looks, leave your crisp channels and on this green land answer your summons." So Iris is actually basically calling out to the spirits of the streams or water bodies, asking them to come out of their streams of water. The crisp channels are the streams with rippling water in them. So come out of there. They are the ones who wear sedged crowns. Sedged, here sedge refers to a kind of naturally occurring or naturally growing plant on the edge of the banks of a stream or the edge of a river. So you are the spirits, you are the nymphs or the spirits who live in the water bodies, and you wear crowns made of sedge. Come out of your water and come upon this green land, this green piece of land. Answer your summons. That means reply or respond to the call that has been given to you. Juno does command, because Juno is the queen, and when she is ordering, all others must follow. So the nymphs are supposed to come out also, because their queen Juno is calling them. So come upon this green, answer or respond to the call of Juno. Come, temperate nymphs, and help to celebrate a contract of true love. Be not too late. Come, chaste. Temperate means chaste or pure. Nymphs or spirits, come and help. These are all female spirits, and they are pure spirits. So that's why they are being called temperate. Come up here and let us help us to celebrate this contract of love. Contract of love between Ferdinand and Miranda. So let's celebrate this union between these two. Be not too late. Don't be too late. And when this call is given by Iris, we can see that the nymphs enter the scene. Now these are also not really the goddesses, but they are actually the spirits who are being who have taken the shape of nymphs and who are being commanded by Prospero. You sunburnt sickle men of August weary, come hither from the furrow and be merry. Now calling out to the reapers. Who are the reapers? Those who harvest crops. So sunburnt sickle men of August weary. Of August weary, reference is explained here. Tired due to the heat of the August sun. As you work in the fields harvesting crops, the heat of the sun makes you tired. You should also come here and join the celebration. Come hither from the furrow and be merry. Furrow means plowed fields. Leave the fields behind. Come here and join us and be happy. Let's enjoy, let's celebrate. Make holiday. Make holiday means just as what people do when they have holiday, they celebrate, they enjoy. The same way, come here and let's enjoy. Your rye straw hats put on, and these fresh nymphs encounter everyone in country footing. Country footing is nothing but a country dance. So, saying here that you have to put on your rye straw hats, meaning to say you have to put on your hats which are made from the straw of the rye plant. So put on your hats, and these fresh nymphs encounter. Come and dance with these nymphs. They are fresh from the water, and the nymphs are the girl spirits, and the reapers are the men spirits. So come and dance with these fresh nymphs, and let us dance to the tune of some kind of country music. So let's have a country dance. What is country dance? Something which is related to the culture of the village society. So let's come together and let's dance and let's celebrate this occasion. So as soon as this call is given, enter certain reapers, okay, and they are properly habited, meaning to say they are properly clothed. The way they have been asked to come to join the dance, they are dressed like that. They join with the nymphs in a graceful dance. Towards the end, whereof Prospero starts suddenly and speaks. So the dance continues for some time till Prospero suddenly remembers that he has to take some action against the rest of the royal party as well as the people who are conspiring against him. That means basically Caliban and then Stefano and Trinculo as well. So suddenly Prospero remembers that, and so he speaks. After which, to a strange, hollow and confused noise, they heavily vanish. So when Prospero suddenly speaks, remember that Prospero had asked Ferdinand not to speak, not to make noise, otherwise his charm or his spell will stop working and these spirits will disappear. But Prospero himself breaks the silence, as a result of which the spirits disappear, the show comes to an end. Now Prospero says, aside. Now what are these asides? These are meant for the audience, these are not meant for the characters present on the stage. So he speaks aside and he says, I had forgot that foul conspiracy of the beast Caliban and his confederates against my life. The minute of their plot is almost come. So what does he remember? He remembers that the evil plan which has been made by Caliban with the help of Stefano and Trinculo, they intend to kill Prospero. Of course, Prospero knows about it because Ariel is invisible and he listens to and watches and observes everything and comes and reports to Prospero. So Prospero says that I almost forgot that this foul conspiracy is going on behind my back, and so their plot, they are about to give validity to their plot. They are about to come here and about to strike. So before they can do that, I have to do something. So he says to the spirits, well done, avoid, no more. Well done, be gone. That's enough. Thank you very much. Bye bye. So the spirits disappear. And Ferdinand says, we have come to page 99 in your textbook. Ferdinand says, this is strange. Your father's in some passion that works him strongly. It seems that your father is angry for some reason, and it's working in his mind very strongly. Must be that he has some reasons to be very angry. And Miranda says, never till this day saw I him touched with anger so distempered. Actually, in her entire life of 15 years, as far as she can remember, Miranda has no recollection of having ever seen her father so angry. So that is what she is saying here, that in my life I have never seen him so angry till now. And Prospero says, you do look, my son, in a moved sort. So it seems that, my son, you are feeling upset. Moved sort means upset, as if you were dismayed, as if you were frightened of something. Be cheerful, sir. Come on, cheer up. You don't have to worry about anything. See, actually, earlier Prospero had been very harsh with Ferdinand. So suddenly, once again, when Ferdinand sees Prospero so angry, he wonders if it is because of him. And so Prospero assures him that don't have to worry about it. It's not because of you, it's for something else, for some other reason. So just cheer up. Our revels are now ended. As far as the show was concerned, the merrymaking was concerned, the celebration was concerned, it is over as of now. These are actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits. As I had told you earlier, these actors whom you saw just now, who came and played the roles of different goddesses and nymphs and reapers, they were actually all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And so they have disappeared into the air, into the thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yeah, all which it inherit, shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a wreck behind. He says that this is the way of the world. Nothing is forever. This world will also come to an end one day. Globe refers to the world in this case, But then the critics of Shakespeare are of a different opinion. They are saying that Shakespeare is trying to allude to the fact that this is his last play, after which he is going to give up everything and he is going to go back to his village, leaving London behind, his Globe Theatre behind. The Globe was the name of the theatre hall owned by Shakespeare, where all his plays were enacted. And it is still there in London, and to this day they do the performance of the different plays of Shakespeare there. So if you ever happen to go to London, make sure you pay a visit to the Globe Theatre and watch at least the performance of any one of Shakespeare's plays. Because around the year, every day they have shows of Shakespeare's plays. Actors and actresses perform and put up the great plays of Shakespeare in the Globe Theatres. Now here, through Prospero, Shakespeare seems to be speaking. So some critics are of the opinion, this is a very important piece of dialogue here. This speech of Prospero is very, 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 very important for not only reference to that context type questions, but also for long answer type questions, where you could be asked to compare and contrast and say whether Prospero is Shakespeare and Shakespeare is Prospero. And you get a question like that, 20 marks question. Shakespeare is Prospero and Prospero is Shakespeare. Do you agree? If so, justify your answer with illustrations from the text. You may get a question like this. It's a very important question, long answer type question, essay type question. So here, what he says is philosophy. It's his philosophy about life. And he says that just like this vision disappeared, the fabric of this vision, in the same way, sooner or later, the cloud-covered towers, tall structures, kings in different ages have built structures, buildings, enormous towers. They seem to be touching the sky, but then nothing is forever in this world. Nothing lasts forever. Time will come when such towers will come to their ruin. And then he says, the gorgeous palaces. You have so many examples around the world, including India. There are so many gorgeous palaces of the past kings which are now in ruins. And people go there to see the relics, the remains of those palaces. So the gorgeous palaces will also come to an end one day. The solemn temples, worship places, the great globe itself. This is the most significant line here, the great globe itself. He refers to the world, no doubt, but at the same time, if we consider Prospero as Shakespeare, remember that in all his plays, William Shakespeare acted himself in the main role. And in case of The Tempest also, when Shakespeare was alive and when this play was being enacted, Prospero's role was played by Shakespeare himself. So when he's saying this not just to Ferdinand, when it's not just Prospero speaking to Ferdinand, it's also Shakespeare speaking to his audience. It's also Shakespeare talking philosophically about a change which is about to come in his life. For he is going to give up on his career here in London and go back to his village. So that is what he's trying to say. So if you get a question like that, you should be able to explain, compare, and you should be able to bring out the underlying meaning of this dialogue, this piece of dialogue. So the gorgeous palaces, temples, solemn temples, sacred and auspicious temples, the great globe itself, that is the world itself, all which it inherit, all that it possesses or contains, whatever is there in the world shall dissolve. We know that very well. Life is the biggest bluff because it's not forever. And all that you see around you, all that you own, all that you possess, nothing is forever. Nothing is forever. Family relations, money, wealth, riches, property, nothing lives with you forever because you don't live forever. Nobody is forever. So that's what he's talking about here. He's a great philosopher. All that it inherits shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded. Just like this insubstantial or unreal dreamlike show which you saw for so long will one day fade, leave not a rack behind, and will not leave even the slightest trace behind. I hope I have been able to make you all understand what this piece of dialogue means. This is the most important area of this dialogue, most important portion. We are such stuff as dreams are made on. Life is the biggest lie, I told you. We are made of such stuff, the same stuff with which dreams are made. We, human beings, are made with the same stuff or same substance with which dreams are made. And our little life is rounded with a sleep. How philosophical. Because our life is rounded up with a sleep. What is that sleep? Death. Eternal sleep. Life comes to an end. Your life comes to a full circle. Once it comes to a full circle, what is left is to go away from this life and to sleep eternally. So that's what he's talking about, is rounded with a sleep. Sir, I am vexed. I am really annoyed. In this case, vexed means annoyed. Normally vexed means confused, but here it means annoyed. Sir, referring to Ferdinand, I am vexed. Bear with my weakness. My brain is troubled. Be not disturbed with my infirmity. I have a disturbed state of mind right now. Don't be troubled by this behavior of mine. If you see me a little disturbed, don't be upset because of that. If you be pleased, retire into my cell and there repose. A turn or two I'll walk to still my beating mind. If it pleases you, Sir Ferdinand, please go inside my hut. You and Miranda, both of you go inside and take some rest now that the show is over, while I will take a short walk to cool my brain. My mind is beating fast, throbbing, so I want to cool it down. So I'll take a short walk. You both can, in the meantime, go inside the hut and sit there and talk. Ferdinand and Miranda says, we wish you peace. We wish you peace of mind, that you have the satisfaction of pacifying your mind by taking a walk. We wish you peace. Saying this, Ferdinand and Miranda leave the scene. They go into Prospero's cell. His cell is his dwelling, his hut. Now Prospero gives a call to Ariel because he must swing into action to teach Caliban a lesson. Enough is enough. It's time now to teach Caliban a lesson. Come with a thought. I thank thee, Ariel. Come. Come as quickly as one can possibly think. Come, Ariel. And Ariel arrives. Ariel, thy thoughts I cleave to. I follow closely whatever you want me to do, and whenever you think of me, I am here. What's thy pleasure? What is it that you want me to do? We come to page 100. Prospero says, Spirit, we must prepare to meet with Caliban. We must get ready to meet Caliban and his companions. It's time now to meet them. Ariel, my commander, when I presented Ceres, I thought to have told thee of it, but I feared lest I might anger thee. Ariel says, yes, my master, my commander, my orderer. When I was playing the role of Ceres, see, Ariel was playing the role of Ceres. When I was playing the role of Ceres, this thought crossed my mind. I thought of telling you or reminding you about Caliban, but then on second thought, I did not tell you because I thought if I told you, you would become angry. So I did not tell you. Prospero, say again, where didst thou leave these varlets? Tell me once again, where did you leave these scoundrels? Where are they? Ariel, I told you, sir, they were red hot with drinking, so full of valor that they smote the air for breathing in their faces. So Ariel is giving the description of what he did with Caliban Stefano Trinculo. So he says that I told you, sir, that their faces had become red because of their drinking heavily. They were drinking very heavily and their faces had turned red. The drink had given them so much courage that they were aiming blows at the air in order to punish it for blowing in their faces. Beat the ground for kissing of their feet, meaning to say that they were trying to beat the ground to punish it for touching their feet, just as they were trying to hit the air with their fists for blowing against their faces. In the same way, they were trying to beat the ground with their feet for touching their feet, yet always bending towards their project. Yet they did not even for once forget their intention, and that intention or that project was always working in their mind, that they wanted to kill you. So they did not forget even for once what their main purpose was. Though they were drunk, they were focused towards their intentions. Then I beat my tabor, at which like unbacked colts they pricked their ears, advanced their eyelids, lifted up their noses as they smelt music. So then what did I do? I started playing on my drum. And when Ariel is a supernatural creature, he's a spirit, and he plays on his drum, produces music, that music is no ordinary music. That's enchanting music. That's a magical music that casts a spell on the listeners. And that's what happened. He says, I started playing my tabor. And as soon as I started playing my tabor, what did they do? On hearing the sound of the tabor, they raised their ears like young horses. Colts are young horses, male horses, which have never been ridden. They have never been, nobody has ever ridden on them. They are new horses, young horses. No rider has ever climbed on top of them or has tamed them. So that is the behavior they showed. And then what else did they do? They raised their eyelids. They raised their noses as if they had heard, as if they had not heard, but basically they have smelt my music. So I charmed their ears, that calf-like, they my lowing followed through toothed briars, sharp furzes, pricking goss and thorns. So what did I do? When they were enchanted, they started following my music, and they started following me just as a calf follows the lowing of its mother. When the cow lows at its calf, the calf tries to come towards the mother. The same way, I lured them with my music and they followed the sound of my tabor in the direction in which I took them. And where did I take them? Following my music, they walked through prickly bushes, thorny plants, prickly shrubs, and prickly thorns. And what happened? Which entered their frail shins, as a result of which these thorns pierced their feeble legs. Shins are legs. Frail means feeble. At last, I left them in the filthy mantled pool beyond your cell. And so finally, I left them in the pool which is covered with a dirty coating of weeds. It's smelly and it's dirty. I left them there, which is situated beyond your cell. They're dancing up to the chins, and that is where they are still at the moment. If you look for them, you will find them there, and they are up to chin deep in the foul water of that pool, and it's terrible. It's really, really terrible. Prospero: this was well done, my bird. Thy shape invisible retain thou still. The trumpery in my house, go bring it hither. You have done a great job, my bird. See, Ariel loves to be petted by Prospero. And Prospero calls him different names at different times. When you read this play, you find him referring to him with different names, and that's what Ariel loves. Thy shape invisible retain thou still. Continue to stay invisible. The trumpery in my house, go bring it hither. And go inside my house and bring out all the garments. Trumpery means garments. For stale to catch these thieves. Because I will use these garments to as bait, as decoy or bait to catch these thieves. Because they are thieves. They will try to steal my garments. I'll place them in such a way that because now that they are chin deep in murky water, foul smelling water, once they come out, they will want to change their clothes. And then they will see these garments and they will try to take them. And that will be committing theft. So go and bring out the garments. Ariel says, I go, I go. Ariel goes. Prospero, a devil, a born devil. Now Prospero is referring to Caliban. A devil, Caliban is a born devil. So with that we come to the end of page 100, and this much for today's class. So I hope you have been able to understand everything that I have explained. I have gone at length to explain things. If you have any doubt with the explanation, you can always play the video again and listen to the explanation. I am sure you will understand everything. And plus, when you read the text side by side, always read the explanations which are provided in your textbook, because those are important, those are valuable information which you require to understand the text. Thank you very much.